Please be seated. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, education lovers. I know you are because it's Saturday morning. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being the warriors for public education that we need. I want to thank Dr. Jennifer Berkshire for being here, and delighted to get a copy of her book. Yvonne, thank you for your many years of service and fighting for our public schools. A little background about me. I grew up in eastern North Carolina. My mom was the greatest public school teacher in the history of North Carolina. From time to time, I will go places and someone will come up to me and say, I want to pay you a compliment. And I think, well, they're going to tell me I'm a good governor. And say, your mom was the best teacher I ever had. You guys know those teachers. My first grade teacher, Ms. Pridgeon, my second grade teacher, Ms. Brantley, my third grade teacher, Ms. Batchelor, my fourth grade teacher, Ms. Colley, my fifth grade teacher, Ms. Taylor, on and on and on. I have visited public schools my entire term of office, from when I was in the state legislature to attorney general, now governor. I spend time in public schools. I sit on the floor with children. I listen to teachers and teacher assistants and counselors and school resource officers and cafeteria workers and bus drivers. And one thing I know, there are a lot of caring people in our public school system who want these children to succeed. They want these children to remember them when they grow up like people remember my mom. And I know we all remember the teachers who made that special. I'm a product of public schools. My children went to public schools. We need to save our public schools because they level the playing field. They provide the opportunities for everybody. And I am so grateful we have so many amazing people who are part of our public schools. I did declare a state of emergency last year. You know, my first few years as governor, I had enough people in the legislature who could sustain my veto when we were able to leverage some more funding for public education. Not enough, but we made a little progress. But the last few years have been tough. The investments that we need have not been made. I declared that state of emergency, but I also knew what great things continued to happen. So this year, one of the great, you hear so many untruths, lies. You hear so many things that are made up for political purposes to demonize our public schools, the culture wars, the things that, oh, they're trying to indoctrinate my children. They're trying to teach your children to read and to do math and to understand science. They're working as hard as they can. They don't have time for that political stuff that you come and bring into our school system. And by the way, I don't know if any of you guys are school board members, but thank them when you see them. Thank you. The hardest job in politics. Thank you very much for what you do. But I declared the year 2024 as the year of public schools because our public schools continued to thrive and improve despite chronic underfunding by the legislature. More than 84% of North Carolina's children still go to public schools, and that percentage is even higher in many of our rural counties. North Carolina has more nationally board-certified teachers than any other state in the country. We have an 87% graduation rate. We've become more flexible, recognizing that 4 years of college is not for everybody, and there's a lot of great paying jobs out there right now. And last year, we issued 325,000 workforce credentials. Surveys show that parents who have their children in public schools are satisfied. We've gotten together and put in the bipartisan science of reading, and I've sat through some of those classes, and I do believe that it is working. We are making progress. Thank goodness for the federal funding that came during the pandemic from the Biden-Harris administration that we were able to use to help children catch up. I wanted to come today not only to promote our public schools, but talk about the threats that are there. I believe right now that private school vouchers are the biggest threat to public schools in decades. There's several things that we know. They don't improve student performance, and we know this from other states that have tried vouchers. But in North Carolina, we won't know. We won't know if our tax money that is being used for vouchers is working, because the North Carolina private school voucher program is the least accountable in the country. We also know from other states that private school vouchers crater budgets, with rural schools being hurt the most. And in other states, we've seen rural Republican and Democratic legislators stand up against these voucher schemes. We need that to happen now, and it only takes a few of them. I have yesterday just vetoed House Bill 10. We had with us yesterday a number of Republicans, a Republican school board member, a county commissioner, a superintendent, particularly from rural areas, a former county commissioner. This is going to take money out of rural public schools, and when you tell rural county commissioners that the school board is going to come to you to make up that funding, their eyes get bigger. I believe that this veto can be upheld if enough legislators in both parties tell Republican leadership that they simply just don't want to vote on a veto override this year. That's how most of my vetoes have been sustained. They just don't vote on the override because they don't like to lose. They know that they don't have enough votes. I invite every one of you to go to governor.nc.gov and click on the red public school emergency banner at the top. That site tells you what these for-profit school lobbyists, and there are a lot of them out there getting paid a lot of money, it tells you what they are not telling the legislature. It tells you how much individual county public school will lose in the first year. Every school system we have in there, we've done the calculation. It tells you how many rural counties have no private schools that accept private school vouchers. Many of them have maybe one or two. It tells you how our public schools provide certified teachers, have full accountability, provide food, provide transportation, teach students with special needs, accept all children, while private schools don't have to do any of that. They get to choose which students they accept or reject. It tells you that, yes, applications for private school vouchers have increased, because if this bill becomes law, even the wealthiest people in the state can go pick up a taxpayer-funded check for their children that they already have in private schools and can afford to have there. I mean, really, who can blame them? Who can blame them? You put that money out there, who can blame them? Let me be really clear. I'm not against private schools and parents choosing that option. It works well for a number of children. But I am against taking taxpayer dollars out of the public schools and giving it to private schools for the wealthiest North Carolinians, and that is exactly what House Bill 10 does. And in fact, you're hearing legislators now defend House Bill 10 by saying that poorer people need help choosing private schools. That's already happening. That's not what this bill does. This bill opens the floodgates to everybody. And you know, if the wealthiest people get to keep picking up this check for private school vouchers, it will be very difficult ever to remove. And so not only is money being lost because children are leaving public schools for these private school vouchers, but the pie is shrunk and you won't be able to make the investments you need. Do you know that just next year, these private school vouchers are going to cost the state $625 million? 1 year. You know what that could do? It could fund the 8.5% teacher pay raise that I proposed to the legislature. Plus, it could fund the $1,500 retention bonus for teachers that I proposed to the legislature. Plus, it could help us hire more teacher assistants. Plus, it could help us hire more school counselors. Plus, it could provide funding for bus drivers that we need in our schools and have a bunch of money left over. That is the magnitude of what we are talking about here and why I'm a little exercised here. Because this is the time to stop it. And this is the time for all of us to come together and to make sure we stop this expansion of private school vouchers for the wealthy. Already, even in the midst of voting on the vouchers, this legislature has fallen woefully short on its investments in public education. We already know we're dropping in teacher pay. Whenever I go in a classroom, I ask how many students want to be public school teachers, and that number is dwindling. It used to be our teachers would encourage students to become teachers, and now many of them are afraid to do so. We are investing $5,000 less per student than the national average. You know, we've also, in one study, dropped to second to last in investment of our gross state product, that percentage of it that goes to public education. That's not who we are as North Carolinians. Those of you who've lived here a long time know how much we value education and value our schools, and this gerrymandered legislature does not reflect North Carolinians, and we must stand up and take our schools back. I've been proud that we've been able to recruit jobs. I'm proud of the fact that we have more HBCU students than any other state in the country, that we have become a clean energy epicenter, that we've got the best community college system in the country, and that a lot of businesses are looking to come here and have set up shop here, and we've been number one in business for 2 years in a row and been in the top 3 for 5 years in a row. I'm going to tell you this. We won't continue to be first in business if we become last in education. Because we know the importance of an educated workforce, and businesses do as well. So here's the homework. You've got to have homework when we're talking about schools. This is a critical time. They may vote on this thing in October. My guess is that if they vote on it, they may wait till after the elections. There are a lot of rural legislators who are getting concerned for a lot of reasons about vouchers. You know, they can go to all kinds of religious schools, that they are taking money out of the rural school systems, with most of it going to urban private schools. There's a lot of reason for all they have to do is just to go tell the leadership, hey, I really don't want you to vote on this, and if you bring it up, I may not be there that day. And a lot of them, I'd rather them stand up and say this is something that we need to do, but this is all I'm asking them to do, is to try to prevent this from coming to a vote, because if we can stop it, this expansion this year, then I believe in the future we've got a better chance to support public education and make sure that we're making the right investments. You know, people stand up and say, I'm for public education. You know, the first thing I ask them, show me your budget. Show me your budget. That is what reflects your real priorities. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to learn and work. Let's get the facts. You know, they talk about, well, the funding should follow the child. Well, here's the problem with that. These public schools have to do all of these things that I talked about, and you've still got to have the same schools, and you've still got to have the teachers. You may have 2 less in your science class. You still got to have that science class. Public schools don't work that way, and when you take that $1 million out of that rural public school, it's going to be a real problem, and it goes to a private school that doesn't have to have any of those requirements and can accept or reject who they. This is a false argument, and it's our public taxpayer money. Thank you for being here. I've gone over my time, but I started preaching. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.